Route 66, summer of 1969. The desert stretched endless under the stars, and the motorcycle's engine was the only sound for miles. That's how Cassian liked it. Just him, the road, and the night that had been his companion for 200 years. The bike was a 1968 Harley-Davidson Sportster, cherry red with chrome that caught the moonlight like liquid silver. He'd bought it cash in Santa Monica 3 months ago and had been riding east ever since, following Route 66 because it was dying, just like him in a way, and he wanted to see it one last time before it disappeared completely. The Mother Road. Will Rogers called it the Main Street of America. But the new interstate was killing it, bypassing all the small towns, the diners, the motor courts with their neon signs flickering in the darkness. Progress, they called it. Cassian had seen enough centuries to know that progress always meant leaving something beautiful behind. It was just past midnight, somewhere between Needles and Barstow, when he saw her. A figure on the side of the road, thumb out, illuminated briefly by his headlight. Long hair, some kind of flowing dress, a canvas bag at her feet. Hitchhiking alone in the desert at midnight? Either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Possibly both. He should have kept riding. 200 years of surviving as a vampire had taught him one essential rule: don't get involved. But something made him slow down. Maybe it was the way she stood there, not desperately flagging him down like most hitchhikers, but calmly, almost serenely, as if she knew exactly what she was doing, as if the universe owed her this ride. He pulled over about 20 feet past her, the engine rumbling into idle. She picked up her bag and walked toward him, not running, not hurrying, just walking with this unhurried grace that made her look like she was floating. When she got close enough, he got his first real look at her. Early 20s, long blonde hair parted in the middle, falling straight down her back. A white cotton dress that probably looked very proper in daylight, but in the darkness looked almost ethereal. Beaded necklaces, a flower tucked behind one ear. A real flower child, straight out of Haight-Ashbury or the Sunset Strip. She asked if he was going east. Her voice was softer than he expected. Educated. This wasn't some runaway kid from Kansas. Cassian said it depended on how far east she needed to go. She answered as far as he was going and smiled. The smile transformed her face from pretty to luminous. She added that she wasn't picky. Cassian told her it was dangerous out here, alone at night. She said she knew, and that was why she was very grateful he'd stopped. She met his eyes directly, and he felt something stir that he hadn't felt in decades. Interest. Real interest. He should have said no. Should have told her to wait for a car, for daylight, for anything but climbing onto the back of a vampire's motorcycle in the middle of nowhere. Instead, Cassian asked her name. She told him Lily Ashford. Then she asked his name in return. He answered simply, Cassian. He didn't give a last name, hadn't used one in 50 years. He asked if she knew how to ride on the back of a bike. Lily said she was a fast learner. Cassian told her to climb on, hold tight, and don't let go. She swung her leg over the bike with surprising ease, settling behind him. Her arms wrapped around his waist, and even through his leather jacket, he could feel her warmth. Human warmth. Living warmth. The thing he'd given up 2 centuries ago. Lily thanked him quietly, her words almost lost in the rumble of the engine. She said he had no idea what this meant. He did, though. Or he thought he did. Running away from something, looking for something. The story of everyone on Route 66 in the summer of 1969. He kicked the bike into gear, and they roared into the darkness together, neither of them knowing that 500 miles behind them, in a mansion in Beverly Hills, someone had just realized Lily Ashford was looking. And that someone was very, very angry. They rode for 2 hours before stopping at an all-night diner outside Barstow. The sign said Betty's All-Night Cafe in pink neon that buzzed and flickered. 3 trucks in the parking lot, a '67 Mustang with California plates, and nothing else for miles. Cassian pulled in, killed the engine. The sudden silence was almost shocking. Lily climbed off the bike, stretching, and he caught himself watching the movement. Human, alive, temporary, dangerous to want. Lily announced she was starving and asked when he'd last eaten. Cassian told her yesterday morning, said it casually like skipping meals was normal. Then he asked Lily the same fiction. She admitted not since yesterday morning. Cassian remarked that he wasn't hungry. That was true enough. He'd fed 3 nights ago in Needles, a violent criminal who'd been stalking women leaving the bus station. Cassian had very particular rules about feeding. Only predators, only people who'd hurt others. It didn't make him a good person, but it let him sleep during the day without too many nightmares. They went inside. The diner was exactly what you'd expect. Red vinyl booths, checkered floor, a jukebox in the corner, playing Nancy Sinatra's "These Boots Are Made for Walkin'." A tired waitress behind the counter, a cook visible through the service window, 2 blackers at the far end nursing coffee. Lily slid into a booth by the window. Cassian sat across from her, and for the first time, really looked at her in the light. She was beautiful. Not magazine beautiful, not advocating beautiful, but something more real. Sun-kissed skin, a spray of freckles across her nose, green eyes that were too old for her face. Eyes that had seen something that advanced them beyond her years. The waitress came over, poured coffee without asking. Her name tag said Deb. She asking what shite them. Lily orders without looking at the menu. Eggs scrambled, toast, hash browns, orange juice. Then she asked about the pie selection. The waitress listed the options: apple, cherry, lemon meringue. Lily chose cherry. Definitely cherry. The waitress turned to Cassian. He said just coffee. When the waitress left, Lily wrapped both hands around her mug, breathing in the steam. She asked Cassian if he wasn't eating. He said he'd eaten earlier. Lily remarked that what kind of person just drinks coffee at an all-night diner? That it was practically sacrilege. Cassian repeated that he'd already eaten. She studied him over the rim of her mug and commented that he was very pale, like he never saw the sun. Cassian explained he worked nights. Lily asked, doing what? Cassian answered vaguely. This and that. He moved around a lot. Lily said the words slowly. A drifter. She didn't say it like an accusation. She added that it must be lonely. Cassian countered that it was free. Lily observed that those weren't the same thing, free and happy. Cassian admitted quietly that no, they weren't the same thing at all. The food came, Lily ate like someone who hadn't had a real meal in days, quickly, efficiently, but somehow still gracefully. Between bites, she talked. About the weather, about the desert, about how Route 66 was disappearing, and wasn't that sad? All these little towns just dying because the interstate bypassed them? She had opinions about everything. Strong opinions, delivered in that soft voice that made them sound like observations rather than judgments. Cassian found himself talking back, actually talking, not just answering questions. Telling her about the towns he'd passed through, the neon signs, the motor courts with their names like Desert Rose and Starlight Inn. The way the desert looked in those brief moments before true sunrise, all pink and gold on the horizon, though he could never see more than a glimpse before he had to find shelter. Sunlight would kill him. Even a few minutes of direct exposure would set him on fire. Lily said softly that he really loved it, the road, the freedom of it. Cassian asked if she didn't feel the same. Lily smiled and said she thought she would. She was new to this, the running away part. Cassian asked what she was running from. The smile faded. She looked down at her plate, at the last bite of cherry pie. She answered that it was an arranged marriage. Very old-fashioned, she knew, but her family was very old-fashioned, very traditional. Cassian clarified that she didn't want to marry him. Lily said she'd never even met him. Her voice was soft but fierce. They'd been planning this since she was a child, some kind of agreement between families. She was supposed to marry Senator Morrison's son on her 23rd birthday, 3 months from now. Become the perfect political wife. Smile at fundraisers. Have children. Never ask questions. Cassian summarized. So she ran. Lily confirmed. So she ran. 2 days ago. She walked out of her bedroom window, climbed down the trellis like she was in some Victorian novel, and she'd been on the road ever since. Then she asked Cassian if he knew what the crazy thing was. Cassian asked what. Lily said she'd never felt more alive. Cassian understood that. The freedom of choosing your own path, even if that path led nowhere. Especially if that path led nowhere. He asked where she was going. Lily admitted she didn't know. East. Away. Anywhere that wasn't Los Angeles and wedding dress fittings and learning which fork to use at diplomatic dinners. She leaned forward and asked what about him? Where was he going? Cassian said nowhere specific. He was just riding. Lily grinned and declared they were perfect travel companions. 2 people going nowhere together. They stayed at the diner until almost 4 in the morning, talking. About music. Lily loved the Jefferson Airplane, Janis Joplin, anything that felt raw and real. About books. She'd read Kerouac, of course. Everyone on the road had read Kerouac. About the war in Vietnam, which she opposed with a passion that made her voice shake. About the moon landing that was coming in a few weeks. About whether the world was getting better or worse. Lily insisted it was getting better. Her generation was waking up, questioning everything. The war, racism, women's rights, all of it. They weren't just accepting what they were told anymore. Cassian asked if she thought that was enough, just questioning. Lily said it was a start. Didn't he think so? He thought about 200 years of human history, all the revolutions that had promised to change everything. Most of them just changed who was in charge. But looking at Lily, at the hope in her eyes, he didn't want to be the one to dim that light. He agreed. Yeah, it was a start. They left as the sky was starting to lighten in the east. Not quite dawn, but getting there. Cassian felt the pull of it, the warning in his blood that told him he needed to find darkness soon. As they walked to the bike, Cassian told Lily there was a motor court about 40 miles from here. They could stop there, rest for the day. Lily commented he must be exhausted. He'd been riding all night. Cassian said he was used to it. She climbed on behind him, her arms around his waist again, and he tried not to think about how right it felt, how easy it would be to keep riding with her, how dangerous that easiness was. He'd learned long ago not to get attached to humans. They were temporary, fragile. They aged and died while he stayed frozen at 28, the age he'd been when a vampire found him bleeding out in an alley in New Orleans in 1769 and decided to make him into something that couldn't die. But Lily made him want to forget all those carefully constructed rules. They reached the motor court just as the sky was turning from black to deep blue. The sign said Stardust Motor Court and showed a shooting star. Only half the letters still lit up. The office was dark, but there was a night bell. An elderly man in a bathrobe answered, took Cassian's cash, handed over a key to room 7. He told them checkout was at 11, then shuffled back to wherever he'd come from. Room 7 was at the end of the row, which Cassian appreciated. Less foot traffic. Less chance of anyone noticing anything unusual. Inside, it was clean but sparse. 2 double beds with matching floral bedspreads, a black and white TV, a small bathroom with pink tile. Lily dropped her bag on the bed nearest the door and stretched. She announced she was going to take a shower. A real shower. Did Cassian know how amazing that sounded? Cassian told her to take her time. He moved to the window, making sure the curtains were heavy enough to block the coming sun, making sure there were no gaps. The margin for error was 0. Even a sliver of direct sunlight would burn him alive. Vampires and sunlight were incompatible in the most fatal way possible. Lily paused at the bathroom door and said Cassian's name softly. He looked at her. She thanked him. For the ride, for breakfast, for not asking too many questions. Cassian said she was running from an arranged marriage. That was explanation enough. Lily said still, thank you. She disappeared into the bathroom. He heard the water start. For a moment, he let himself imagine a different life. One where he could be normal. Where he could ride Route 66 with a beautiful girl, and it could be just that simple. But it wasn't simple. It never was. He pulled off his boots, his jacket, lay back on the other bed, hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. Through the bathroom door, he could hear Lily humming, some folk song he didn't recognize. The sky outside was getting lighter. He could feel it, the way he always could. that pressure behind his eyes, that heaviness in his limbs. The sun was coming, and he needed to sleep. He closed his eyes. Just for a moment, he thought. Just until she was done with the shower. But the darkness pulled him down fast, the way it always did. The death sleep of vampires, deeper than any human rest. He didn't dream. Vampires didn't dream. But if he could have, he would have dreamed of a girl in a white dress, riding forever into the sunset on the back of his motorcycle. Free. Alive. His. Cassian woke at sunset, the way he always did. Internal clock, precise after 2 centuries. The room was dim, curtains still closed. The other bed was empty, sheets rumbled. For one heart-stopping moment, he thought Lily had left. Run again. Moved on to the next ride. Then he heard the door open, and she came in carrying 2 paper bags and wearing the biggest smile he'd seen yet. Lily announced excitedly that he was awake. Perfect timing. She'd gotten food. She held up the bags. There was a diner across the street. She'd gotten burgers, fries, milkshakes. The whole American dream. She was different. Changed out of the white dress into jeans and a tie-dye t-shirt. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger. Happier. Cassian asked if she'd gone out alone. Lily said it was just across the street, and it was still light out. Well, it had been an hour ago. She started unpacking the bags on the small table. She said she hoped he liked chocolate milkshakes. She'd gotten 2 chocolate because she figured everyone liked chocolate. Cassian sat up, watching her. The easy way she moved, the unself-conscious joy in something as simple as burgers and milkshakes. Cassian said he wasn't really hungry. Lily pointed out he'd said that last night, too. She asked if he ever ate. Cassian said, not much. Lily told him that wasn't healthy. He was going to waste away to nothing. She held out a burger and said, "Come on, 1 burger, for her." He couldn't eat it. Human food made him nauseous now. But he took it anyway, unwrapped it slowly, took a small bite, forced himself to swallow, felt his stomach protest. Lily declared, "See, not so bad." She bit into her own burger with enthusiasm. God, this was good. Or maybe everything tasted good when you were free. Had he noticed that? How food tastes better on the road? Cassian said, maybe, then set the burger down and took the milkshake instead. That he could manage. Liquid was easier. He told Lily she seemed happy. Lily confirmed she was happy. She'd spent the whole day just existing, watching TV, reading magazines, thinking about where they were going next. It was amazing. She leaned forward and asked where they were going next. Cassian echoed the word. We? Lily countered that, well, he wasn't going to kick her off the bike now, was he? They were partners, fellow travelers, like Kerouac and Neil Cassidy. Cassian pointed out that didn't end well for either of them. Lily agreed, but said they'd had an adventure first. That was the point. She took a long sip of her milkshake and asked again, "So, where to?" Cassian thought about it. About the smart thing to do, which was to take her to the next town and leave her there. About the safe thing, which was the same. About what he wanted to do, which was keep riding with her until the road ended or the world ended, whichever came first. He answered, Flagstaff, then maybe Albuquerque. Follow Route 66 east. Lily said, perfect. They'd be like Bonnie and Clyde, but without the robbery and murder. Cassian clarified, just the running away part. Lily agreed enthusiastically. Exactly. They left an hour after full dark. Lily climbed on behind him like she'd been doing it for years, her arms around his waist, her cheek against his back. The bike roared to life, and they merged onto the highway, heading east. The desert at night was a different world. Cool air, stars so bright they looked close enough to touch, the headlight cutting through the darkness. Other vehicles were rare, a truck here, a car there. Mostly they had the road to themselves. They stopped at a roadside attraction around midnight, a place that advertised, "See the mystery spot, genuine UFO landing site." It was closed, dark, slightly sad-looking in the moonlight. Lily wanted to look, around anyway. They hopped the fence, wandered through displays of faded alien mannequins and hand-painted signs about flying saucers. Lily asked if Cassian believed in them. UFOs? Cassian said sure, why not? The universe was a big place. Lily observed it was bigger than most people think. Cassian agreed. Bigger than most people think. Lily looked at him in the moonlight and said he did that sometimes, said things like that. Like he'd seen more than he was telling. Cassian countered that everyone had seen more than they told. Lily said yes, but him especially. He had this way of talking about things like he'd lived a dozen lifetimes. If you only knew, Cassian thought. Aloud, he said he was just well-read. They kept riding. Through small towns that were barely awake even during the day. Past motor courts with their neon signs, vacancy blinking in red and blue. Past diners that glowed like spaceships themselves in the darkness. Lily talked about everything and nothing. About the music festival coming up in New York, Woodstock they were calling it. About how she wished she could go, but she'd never make it there in time. About her friend Sarah, who'd gone to San Francisco last summer and came back wearing flowers and talking about free love. Lily asked if Cassian believed in that, free love. Cassian said he believed in freedom. Love was complicated. Lily called it a very adult answer. Cassian asked what she believed. Lily said she believed in love, real love, the kind worth running away for, worth risking everything for. She paused, then continued. She believed that when you found it, you'd know, like lightning, like recognition, like coming home to a place you'd never been. Cassian didn't answer, couldn't answer, because he was starting to understand exactly what she meant. They reached Flagstaff just before dawn, found another motor court, this one called Ponderosa Inn, got another room. This time Lily didn't even ask about 2 beds. Just dropped her bag and headed for the shower like it was routine, like they'd been doing this for years instead of 2 days. Cassian lay on his bed, listening to the water run, listening to her hum, and wondered what the hell he was doing. He was a vampire, 200 years old, a predator. He had no business riding across America with a human girl who believed in free love and lightning strike recognition. But when she came out of the bathroom in an oversized t-shirt, her hair wet and tangled, smiling at him like he was the best thing that had ever happened to her, he couldn't make himself end it. Not yet. Lily said goodnight to Cassian and wished him sweet dreams as she climbed into her bed. Cassian wished her sweet dreams too. He waited until he heard her breathing even out, deepen into sleep. Then he slipped out of the room into the darkness. He needed to feed. The hunger was getting stronger, harder to ignore. He couldn't keep pretending to eat human food without consequences. Flagstaff was a college town. Plenty of bars, plenty of darkness, plenty of predators. He found one outside a dive bar, harassing a woman who was clearly trying to get to her car. Cassian intervened. The man turned on him, aggressive, drunk, violent. Perfect. 10 minutes later, Cassian left the man unconscious in the alley. Not dead, never dead unless absolutely necessary. Just depleted. The woman had run. Good. He made his way back to the motor court, back to room 12. Back to where Lily slept, safe and unaware of what he really was. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, just watching her. The rise and fall of her breath, the vulnerability of sleep, the absolute trust she'd placed in him. A stranger she'd met on the side of the road. He would protect her. Whatever she was running from, whoever was looking for her, he would keep her safe. Even if keeping her safe meant eventually letting her go. He closed the door quietly, locked it, and lay back down. Outside, the sun was rising. Inside, a vampire and a human girl slept in separate beds, traveling together toward something neither of them could name. They fell into a rhythm over the next week. Ride at night, stop at diners, sleep during the day in motor courts with names like Desert Dream and Cactus Rose. Talk about everything except the things that mattered most. Cassian learned that Lily had studied art history at UCLA before dropping out, that her favorite painter was Van Gogh because he painted like he was bleeding color onto the canvas. That she'd been engaged once before, briefly, to a boy she actually liked, but her family had ended it because he wasn't suitable. That she missed her younger sister terribly, but couldn't contact her without risking being found. That she'd never felt truly free until the night she climbed out her bedroom window. Lily learned that Cassian had been born in New Orleans, that he'd traveled extensively, more than anyone she'd ever met, that he'd seen the Eiffel Tower when it was new, though he didn't elaborate on what new meant. That he read constantly, paperbacks he picked up at gas stations and left at diners for the next traveler. That he was kind to waitresses and tipped well and never got angry, even when a drunken Gallop tried to pick a fight. That he watched her sometimes when he thought she wasn't looking, with an expression she couldn't quite read. They were in Albuquerque, at a diner called Route 66 Diner, with a neon sign shaped like the highway shield, when things shifted. It was 2 a.m. They had the place almost to themselves, except for a trucker at the counter and a young couple in a corner booth holding hands across the table. Lily was eating apple pie. Cassian was drinking coffee he didn't need. Lily said suddenly that she wanted to ask him something. Cassian said, sure. Lily asked why he'd picked her up that night on the side of the road. Cassian considered his answer carefully. He said she'd looked like she needed a ride. Lily said that wasn't an answer. Plenty of people needed rides. He didn't seem like the type to stop for everyone. She was right. He wasn't. Cassian said finally that she'd looked determined, like she knew exactly what she was doing, like she'd made a choice and was sticking with it. He'd respected that. Lily asked, "And now?" Cassian echoed, "Now?" Lily clarified, now that he knew her, now that they'd been riding together for over a week, did he regret stopping? Cassian said no and meant it completely. Not even a little. She smiled, but it was different this time. Deeper, more real. Good, because she didn't regret flagging him down, even though it was probably incredibly stupid to hitchhike alone at midnight in the desert. Cassian agreed it was definitely stupid. Lily said, "But it worked out because he wasn't a serial killer or a creep or any of the things her mother always warned her about." Cassian said quietly that her mother didn't know him. Lily countered that no, but she did. She thought. Then she asked if she was wrong. Was he secretly terrible? Cassian answered that everyone was secretly terrible in some way. Lily called it cynical. Cassian called it honest. Lily said, "Okay then, tell her. What was his terrible secret? What was the thing he wasn't telling her?" Everything, Cassian thought. That he wasn't human. That he was older than her great-great-grandparents. That he'd killed people. Deserving people, but still. That he was falling for her in a way he hadn't fallen for anyone in decades, and it scared him because she was mortal and fragile, and he'd watch her age and die if this continued. Instead, Cassian said he was a loner. He didn't let people get close. He kept moving because staying still meant getting attached, and getting attached meant getting hurt. It wasn't the truth she was asking for, but it wasn't a lie either. Lily reached across the table, put her hand over his. Her skin was warm, alive. She said, maybe it was time to stop running. Both of them. Cassian started to object, but Lily continued. She knew. They barely knew each other. It had only been a week. She sounded crazy, but Cassian, she felt more herself with him than she'd felt in her entire life. More real, more alive. Didn't he feel it? He did. God help him, he did. Cassian said quietly that this couldn't last forever. They were both running from things. Eventually, reality caught up. Lily said, "Then let's outrun it as long as we can." She squeezed his hand. "Let's just be together for however long we have. No promises, no pressure. Just questions and the road and whatever came next." He should say no, should tell her this was temporary, that they'd reach the end of Route 66 eventually and go their separate ways. Should protect her from the impossibility of what she was suggesting. Instead, he turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. "Okay, us and the road." Her smile could have lit up the entire desert. They rode into the night, into New Mexico, into something that felt dangerously like hope. And 500 miles behind them, a black Cadillac with California plates was following their trail. Senator Morrison's son wasn't the one looking for Lily. The senator himself was, and he was getting closer. They spent 3 days in Santa Fe, and those days felt like a different lifetime. Lily had argued that they couldn't just ride every single night. They had to actually experience things. Wasn't that the point of the road? The journey? So Cassian had agreed, even though staying in one place made him nervous. Even though every instinct told him to keep moving. They found a small adobe inn on the outskirts of town. The owner was an elderly woman named Rosa, who asked no questions and accepted cash with a knowing smile. "Young love," she said in accented English. "Beautiful to see." Cassian didn't correct her. The days were Lily's. She explored while he slept the deep sleep of vampires, curtains drawn tight against the New Mexico sun. He couldn't risk even a moment of daylight. Sunlight meant death, instant, agonizing combustion. So the days belonged to her alone. But the evenings, those golden hours right after sunset, when the sky turned pink and orange, those were theirs together. They walked the plaza hand in hand, watched a street musician play guitar, his case open for donations. Ate at a tiny restaurant where Lily ordered enough food for both of them and laughed when Cassian barely touched his plate. Lily commented again that he really didn't eat much. Cassian blamed it on a fast metabolism. They bought turquoise jewelry from a Navajo woman who told them it would protect them on their journey. Lily insisted Cassian wear the bracelet she bought him. For protection, she said, fastening it around his wrist. Cassian asked, from what? Lily answered, whatever was chasing them, whatever they were running from. The universe. Cassian said the universe was a lot to protect against with one bracelet. Lily said, then they'd just have to trust it. She smiled. Trust and love. That was all anyone had, really. On the third night, they climbed to the top of a hill overlooking the city. The lights spread out below them like stars that had fallen to earth. Lily lay back on the scrubby grass, looking up at the real stars above. She asked if Cassian ever thought about forever. Cassian said, sometimes. Lily asked what he thought it would be like, living forever. Cassian answered honestly. Lonely. Watching everyone you love age and die. Watching the world change. Never changing yourself. Lily countered that, but you'd see everything, experience everything. All of history unfolding around you. Cassian said, you'd also lose everything, over and over. She turned her head to look at him and asked if that was why he kept moving. So he didn't get attached. Cassian said, maybe. Lily said softly that it was sad. Cassian said it was survival. Lily observed that they weren't the same thing, surviving and living. Cassian agreed quietly. No, they weren't the same thing. She was quiet for a moment, then asked, if he could live forever, but he had to watch everyone he loved die, would he still do it? He thought about 200 years, about every friend he'd made and lost, every lover who'd aged while he stayed frozen, every grave he'd visited, leaving flowers for people whose grandchildren were now dead themselves. Cassian said he didn't know. Some days yes, some days no. Lily asked, what about today? Today, lying on a hill in New Mexico, with a girl who made him feel human again? Today, the answer was different. Cassian said, today, yes, if it meant more days like this. Lily rolled onto her side, propped up on one elbow, looking down at him. Her hair fell around her face like a curtain, blocking out the stars. She said his name softly. Cassian. Cassian responded. Lily said she thought she was falling in love with him. His heart, which barely beat anymore, which he'd thought was incapable of that kind of feeling, stuttered. Cassian started to protest, but Lily interrupted. She knew. They'd only known each other 2 weeks. It was crazy. But she couldn't help it. He was... She paused, searching for words. He was like no one she'd ever met. He listened like every word mattered. He was kind, without expecting anything in return. He made her feel safe, real, seen. Cassian said she barely knew him. Lily said she knew enough. She knew he was running from something, just like her. She knew he was lonely. She knew he thought he didn't deserve good things. She touched his face gently. But he did. He deserved good things. He deserved to be happy. Cassian started to speak her name, but she continued. He didn't have to say it back. She just wanted him to know. Before they got to wherever they were going. Before this ended. She wanted him to know that for her, this was real. He should tell her the truth. Should explain what he was, why this could never work. Should push her away before she got any more attached. Instead, he reached up, cupped the back of her neck, and pulled her down to kiss him. She melted into it, into him, with a soft sound of surprise and relief. Her lips were warm, alive, tasting like the cherry Coke she'd had at dinner. Her hands tangled in his hair. He could hear her heartbeat, fast and strong. Could smell the blood just beneath her skin. But for once, it wasn't hunger he felt. It was something else entirely. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Lily asked if that was a yes. Cassian said that was a, this is complicated. Lily said, everything worth having was complicated. Cassian told her there were things about him she didn't know. Things he should tell her before this went any further. Lily said, then tell me. She settled back down beside him, her head on his shoulder. I'm listening. Where to start? How do you tell someone you're a monster? How do you explain 200 years in a way that makes sense? Cassian began slowly. He said he wasn't what she thought he was. Lily asked what she thought he was. Cassian answered. Normal. Human. Safe. Lily said none of those things mattered to her. Cassian said they should. Lily said, but they didn't. She looked up at him. Whatever he was about to tell her, whatever secret he thought would scare her away, it wouldn't. She'd already decided. She was all in. Cassian said she couldn't know that until she knew the truth. Lily said, then tell me the truth. All of it. Cassian took a breath he didn't need, looked at the stars above them, those ancient lights that had watched him for 2 centuries, made his choice. He said quietly, I'm a vampire. I'm 200 years old. I don't age. I can't go in the sun. Sunlight burns me to ash in seconds. I drink blood to survive. And I stopped for you that night on the highway because you looked like someone running towards something better. And I couldn't remember the last time I felt that way myself. Silence. Long, stretching silence. Then Lily said, "Prove it." He looked at her. She was watching him steadily, no fear in her eyes, just curiosity. She said it again. "Prove it. Show me." So he did. Opened his mouth, let his fangs extend, let his eyes change to that reflective shine that marked predators. Moved faster than any human could, disappearing from beside her and reappearing on the other side of the hilltop in the space of a blink. Came back to her just as fast, resumed his human appearance. Lily said, "Okay, that was... wow." Cassian observed she wasn't scared. Lily asked if she should be. Cassian said most people would be. Lily said she wasn't most people. She sat up and he mirrored her. So he was a vampire. Okay. That explained a lot, actually. The not eating thing, the I work nights thing, the way he talked about seeing the Eiffel Tower when it was new. Cassian said she was taking this remarkably well. Lily said she was processing. She touched his face again, gently. Was he going to hurt her? Cassian said, never. Lily asked if he was going to turn her into a vampire without asking. Cassian said, no, never without consent. Lily asked then what was the problem? So he wasn't human. So what? He was still him, still the person who picked her up on the highway, still the person who made her feel safe. Cassian said he was a predator. He killed to survive. Lily asked if he killed innocent people. Cassian said no, only those who deserved it. Lily said, then he was doing the world a service. She smiled slightly. Look, she knew this was supposed to be some big dramatic revelation, but honestly, after escaping from an arranged marriage to a senator's son, running away from everything she'd ever known, hitchhiking alone at midnight, a vampire boyfriend was pretty far down the list of shocking things in her life right now. Cassian echoed the word. Boyfriend? Lily asked if that wasn't what they were. Cassian pointed out he was 200 years old. Lily said, and she was 22. They were both consenting adults. Age gap was relative. She took his hands. Cassian, she meant what she said. She was falling in love with him, vampire or not. Actually, being a vampire kind of made it better. Cassian asked how. Lily answered because he understood. About running, about not fitting in, about being something the world didn't accept. They were the same, him and her, just in different ways. She had a point, a strange, impossible point, but a point nonetheless. Cassian said this couldn't end well. She was human. She'd age. He wouldn't. Eventually. Lily interrupted. Eventually, they'd deal with eventually. Right now, let's deal with right now. She kissed him again, softer this time. Right now, she loved him. That was all she knew. That was all she needed to know. Cassian heard himself say he loved her too. And he did. against all wisdom, against 200 years of carefully constructed walls. He loved her. They lay back down together, her head on his chest, his arm around her, and watched the stars wheel overhead. Lily said his name again. Cassian responded. Lily said, "Thank you for telling her the truth." Cassian thanked her for not running. Lily asked, where would she run to? He was the best thing that had ever happened to her. She paused. Could she ask him something? Cassian said, anything. Lily asked about that arranged marriage she was running from, the senator's son. Did he think, she meant, was there any chance he could be... Cassian finished her thought. Like me? He said he'd wondered the same thing. He didn't know. But if he was, that would explain why her family was so insistent on the match. Some vampire families still arranged marriages. Bloodline politics. Lily said that was archaic. Cassian said that was tradition. Lily said, well, screw tradition. She chose him. Cassian warned that she might not have a choice. If her family found her, Lily said, then they'd deal with it together. She squeezed his hand. Him and her. Partners, right? Cassian agreed, even though a cold feeling was settling in his chest. Right. Because if Lily's intended was a vampire, and if his family was powerful enough to arrange marriages with human political families, then they were both in more danger than she realized. But tonight, under the stars in Santa Fe, he let himself pretend everything would be okay. Just for tonight. Tomorrow, they'd get back on the road, keep running, stay ahead of whatever was chasing them. Together. They left Santa Fe at midnight, the city lights fading behind them as they headed east. Lily rode with her arms tight around Cassian's waist, her cheek pressed against his back, and he could feel her smiling even through his jacket. Everything had changed. Or maybe nothing had changed. Either way, he felt lighter than he had in years. The moon was nearly full, bright enough to cast shadows. They rode through desert and scrubland, past mesas that looked like ancient monuments in the darkness, past signs for pueblos and trading posts, past the occasional car or truck, rare at this hour. Around 2 a.m, Cassian noticed the headlights behind them. Single vehicle, black car, maintaining a steady distance. Not passing, not falling back. Just following. He sped up. The car sped up. He slowed down. The car slowed down. Cassian called over his shoulder to Lily. She responded. Cassian told her not to panic, but he thought they were being followed. She turned to look back and asked about the black car. Cassian confirmed. Lily asked how long. Cassian said 10, 15 minutes. Lily suggested it could be coincidence. Same road, same direction. Cassian said, could be. But he didn't believe it, and from the way her arms tightened around him, neither did she. He pushed the bike faster, taking curves at speeds that would terrify most passengers. Lily held on without complaint. The car kept pace. They'd been riding for another 20 minutes when Cassian saw the roadside rest stop ahead. Small parking area, picnic tables, restrooms. Empty at this hour. Cassian told Lily to hold on. He pulled in, killed the engine. The black car drove past, continuing down the highway. Cassian and Lily sat in the darkness, breathing hard, waiting. Nothing. No car, no sound except the wind and the cooling engine. Lily said, "Maybe it was nothing." Cassian echoed, "Maybe." They waited 5 more minutes, then got back on the road. Rode for another hour without incident. Started to relax. That's when the black Cadillac appeared ahead of them, parked sideways across the highway, blocking both lanes. Cassian braked hard, the bike fishtailing slightly before he got it under control. They stopped about 50 yards away. The Cadillac's driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, dark suit, perfectly tailored. Even at this distance, Cassian could see he was handsome in that ageless, polished way that screamed old vampire. Very old vampire. The man called out, his voice carrying unnaturally well in the desert night. "Lily Ashford. It was time to come home." Lily's grip on Cassian tightened. She whispered that was him. Cassian asked if it was Senator Morrison. Lily said no. Worse. That was William, the son. Her, the one she was supposed to marry. William walked closer, moving with that predatory grace that humans could never quite manage. He was smiling, but there was nothing warm in it. He said Lily's name like an endearment. Darling. She'd led them on quite a chase. 2 weeks. Did she have any idea how worried her family had been? Lily said, her voice steady despite the fear Cassian could feel radiating from her, that she wasn't going back. William said she didn't have a choice. The contract between their families. Lily interrupted. It was not her contract. She didn't agree to anything. William said her parents agreed. That was enough. Cassian observed, and who was this? Her white knight on a motorcycle? Cassian said it was none of his business. William said, but it was his business. She was his. Had been since the death she was born. Her bloodline, her family, all bound to them through very old agreements. William's smile widened, showing a hint of fang, and the stranger. He was trespassing on property that didn't belong to him. Cassian said she wasn't property. William said, in their world, she was. William's expression hardened. He said he could smell what Cassian was. Vampire. Drifter from the look of him. No family, no allegiance. He had no idea what he'd stumbled into. Cassian said then, "Enlighten me." William explained. The Ashfords owed his family a blood debt going back 200 years. Lily's great-great-great-grandfather made a deal with his father. Protection, wealth, political power, all in exchange for a bride from each generation. Lily was the latest installment. Lily said that was insane. William said that was business. William looked at her with something that might have been affection if his eyes weren't so cold. He didn't expect her to love him, Lily. But she would marry him. She would fulfill her family's obligation, and in return, her parents, her sister, everyone she cared about would continue to enjoy the protection and prosperity they'd had for generations. Lily asked what if she refused. William said then the protection ended. The deals ended. The consequences? He shrugged. Well, let's just say her family had many enemies. Enemies his family had been keeping at bay. Cassian felt Lily trembling against him, understood the trap she was in. This wasn't just about her. It was about everyone she loved. Cassian said there had to be another way. William laughed. Oh, there was. Cassian could challenge him for her. Old tradition. Trial by combat. Winner takes the bride. Cassian said this wasn't the Middle Ages. William said no, but some traditions endured. William's smile was sharp. What did he say, Drifter? Want to fight for her? Or was he smart enough to walk away? Cassian felt Lily's hands on his shoulders, heard her whisper, "Don't, please." He was ancient. He'd killed dozens of challengers. Just go. Save yourself. But Cassian was already getting off the bike, already facing William across the empty highway, already making the choice that would change everything. Cassian said clearly, "I challenge you. For her freedom. Winner takes all." William's eyebrows rose. Interesting. And if you lose? Cassian said he wouldn't. William said, confidence. He liked that. William shrugged off his suit jacket, handed it to someone Cassian hadn't noticed. Another vampire, younger, probably an assistant. Very well. Traditional rules. No weapons, no magic. Just speed, strength, and will. Fight until one of us yields or dies. Cassian said, agreed. Lily cried out, "Cassian, no!" She grabbed his arm. He couldn't. He didn't know William. He was... Cassian said he knew what William was, and he knew he wasn't letting him take her. Not without a fight. Lily said he'd die. Cassian said, maybe. But he'd rather die fighting for her than live knowing he let her go. He kissed her, quick and fierce. Trust me. Then he walked into the center of the highway, and William met him there. They circled each other, two predators assessing, looking for weakness. William observed that Cassian was young. 200 years? Maybe less? He himself was 700. Cassian couldn't win this. Cassian said they'd see. William moved first, faster than thought, aiming for Cassian's throat. But Cassian had spent 2 centuries surviving, and survival taught you things that age couldn't. He ducked, spun, drove his fist into William's ribs with enough force to crack bone. William laughed, not even winded. Better than he expected, but not good enough. What followed was brutal, fast, violent. They moved in blurs of motion, exchanging blows that would kill any human. Cassian was faster, more creative, unpredictable. William was stronger, more experienced, relentless. They crashed through the Cadillac's windshield, denting metal, tore up chunks of asphalt, left trails of blood that steamed in the cool night air. And slowly, inevitably, Cassian started to lose. William was just too old, too strong, too practiced at this. A blow to Cassian's head sent him sprawling. Before he could recover, William was on him, hand around his throat, lifting him off the ground. William said he'd told him. Cassian couldn't win. He was outmatched. Cassian clawed at William's hand, feeling his vision start to dim. Heard Lily screaming. Thought, this is it. This is how it ends. Then he remembered something. Something the Navajo woman in Santa Fe had said when she sold them the jewelry. Turquoise protects. But more than that, it carries the blessing of the sun itself, even at night. The bracelet on his wrist, turquoise and silver, blessed, consecrated. He didn't know if it would work, but he was dying anyway, so might as well try. Cassian grabbed William's wrist with his bracelet hand, and the effect was immediate. William screamed, his skin burning where the bracelet touched him. He dropped Cassian, stumbling back, staring at his blistered wrist in shock. He asked what Cassian gasped, climbing to his feet. Blessed turquoise. Sun magic. Funny thing about protective jewelry, sometimes it actually works. He didn't give William time to recover, launched himself forward, drove the bracelet-clad hand into William's chest, right over his heart. William's scream echoed across the desert. He burst into flames, not real fire, but that supernatural burning that happened when ancient vampires met holy objects. In seconds, he was ash. Just ash and expensive suit, scattered by the desert wind. Cassian stood there, swaying, bleeding, barely able to believe what had just happened. The assistant vampire took one look at the ash pile, at Cassian, and ran. Got in the Cadillac, or tried to, given the broken windshield, and drove off into the night, leaving them behind. Then Lily was there, crashing into him, her arms around him, sobbing. He was alive. He was alive. Oh God, she'd thought. Cassian said he was okay. He held her tight, even though everything hurt. It was okay. He was gone. Lily pulled back, looking up at him with tear-streaked face. He'd killed him. He'd actually killed him. Cassian confirmed. Yeah. Lily asked about the debt, her family. Cassian explained it was void. When a vampire died, all his contracts died with him. That was the rule. Her family was free. She asked, her voice breaking. They were free? Cassian said they were free. And then she was kissing him, desperate and grateful and full of relief. He kissed her back, tasting salt and love, and the promise of something he'd never had before. Forever, maybe. Or at least a chance at it. When they finally broke apart, the sky was starting to lighten in the east. Not much, just a hint of gray, but enough to remind him. Dawn was coming, and dawn meant death. Cassian said they needed to go, find shelter. Dawn was coming. They climbed back on the bike, rode east into the approaching sunrise, racing the light. The sky was brightening faster now, turning from black to deep blue to pale gray. Cassian could feel it in his bones, that warning that came with centuries of survival. They had minutes, maybe less. Found a motor court just as the sun broke the horizon. Stumbled into their room as Cassian's skin started to smoke from the first rays of indirect light filtering through the morning air. He made it inside, slammed the door, and collapsed onto the bed. Lily closed all the curtains, checked every crack for light, then climbed onto the bed beside him. She said he was hurt, touching the cuts and bruises that were already starting to heal. Cassian said he'd be fine. Vampires healed fast. Lily said not fast enough. He almost died. For her. Cassian said it was worth it. She was quiet for a moment, then asked, Cassian, what happens now? Cassian echoed. Now? Lily explained. They were free. The contract was void. She could go home if she wanted, see her family, her sister. Or they could keep riding, keep running, keep being free. She paused. What did he want? What did he want? 2 weeks ago, the answer would have been simple. Keep drifting, keep moving, keep avoiding attachment. Now? Now everything was different. Cassian said simply, I want you. However I can have you. For however long you'll let me. Lily asked, what if she said forever? Cassian said forever was a long time for a human. Lily said, then maybe she shouldn't stay human. The words hung in the air between them. Cassian sat up, despite his injuries, despite his exhaustion. He started to speak, but Lily continued. She'd been thinking about it, since he told her what he was, since she realized what forever could mean. She took his hands. She didn't want to age while he stayed the same. She didn't want to have 40 or 50 years with him and then leave him alone for another 200. She wanted forever. Real forever. With him. Cassian said she didn't know what she was asking. Being a vampire, Lily interrupted, it meant she'd never see the sun again, never feel sunlight on her skin. Never experience a sunrise or sunset with her own eyes, only the moments before and after. It meant she'd have to drink blood. Meant she'd watch everyone she knew age and die. She knew. Her eyes were clear, certain. But it also meant she got to spend eternity with him, riding motorcycles across America, seeing the world, being free. That was worth it. Cassian tried again to warn her, but Lily said firmly, she loved him, and she chose this. She chose him. She chose forever. She smiled. Turn me, please. Make me like you. Cassian searched her face, looking for doubt, for fear, for any sign that she didn't mean it. Found only certainty, only love. Only that same determination he'd seen the night he picked her up on the highway. He warned her it was going to hurt. Lily said she didn't care. Cassian said she'd be vulnerable for 3 days while she changed. They'd have to stay hidden. Lily said, then they'd stay hidden. Cassian told her she couldn't go back. Once this happened, her old life was over. Lily said, good. She didn't like her old life anyway. She pulled him closer. The only thing she wanted from her old life was the memory of it. The only thing she wanted from her future was him. Now stop trying to talk me out of it and make me immortal. So he did. He kissed her gently, then moved to her neck, found the pulse point, whispered, I love you, and bit down. It hurt, he knew, could feel her stiffen, her hands clutch at him. But she didn't pull away, didn't cry out, just held him as he drank, taking enough to start the change, but not enough to kill. When he pulled back, his own wrist was already healing from where he'd bitten it. He held it to her lips and said, drink. It's the only way to complete the change. She drank without hesitation, and Cassian felt the bond form, that mystical, unbreakable connection between sire and child, maker and maid. Lily was his now, forever. When she'd had enough, she pulled back, gasping. Already her eyes were changing, darkening. Already her body was starting the transformation. Cassian said gently, helping her onto the bed. "Lie down. Sleep. When you wake up, everything will be different." Lily murmured, already drifting. "Better. Everything will be better." He lay beside her, watching her sleep, watching the change begin. 3 days. 3 days, and she'd wake up immortal. 3 days, and they'd have forever. Outside, the sun rose on a new day. Inside, a vampire held his soon-to-be immortal love and thought about all the roads they'd travel together, all the years stretching ahead, all the possibilities. And for the first time in 200 years, Cassian wasn't afraid of forever. 3 days later, Lily woke at sunset. Cassian was there, waiting, watching. She opened her eyes, now silver instead of green, and smiled. She said she was different. Cassian said she was perfect. Lily saying she was hungry. Cassian said he knew. They'd hunt tonight. He'd teach her everything. She sat up, testing her new body. The strength, the speed, the way every sense was amplified. She said this was amazing. Cassian said this was her life now, forever. Lily said good. She kissed him. Let's go. She wanted to ride. She wanted to feel the wind. She wanted to experience everything with these new senses. So they rode. Back onto Route 66, heading east again. But this time, they had all the time in the world. No rushing, no deadline, no fear of what was behind them. Just the road, the night, and each other. They stopped at diners, and Lily laughed at how good everything smelled, how alive the world was when you had vampire senses. They slept in motor courts during the day, wrapped around each other. They hunted together, Cassian teaching her his rules, his code. Only predators, only those who deserved it, never innocents. She took to it naturally, with that same fierce determination she brought to everything. Sometimes they passed other travelers and wondered what they saw. 2 young people on a motorcycle, seemingly in love, heading nowhere in particular. If only they knew. If only they understood that these 2 had all of eternity ahead of them. They reached the end of Route 66 in Chicago 6 weeks later, stood at the terminus, looking at the sign that marked where the Mother Road ended. Lily asked, "So, what now?" Cassian wrapped his arms around her from behind and said, Now we turn around and ride it all again. Take the southern route. Explore every town, every roadside attraction, every diner. Then maybe head to Mexico, or Canada, or Europe. He wanted to show her Paris, Rome, all the places he'd been alone that he wanted to see again through her eyes. Lily said that sounded perfect. She leaned back against him. A never-ending road trip. Cassian added, with occasional breaks for hunting and sleeping. Lily said, obviously. She turned in his arms. I love you, Cassian. Thank you for stopping that night. Thank you for fighting for me. Thank you for forever. Cassian said, Thank you for flagging me down. Thank you for not running when you learned the truth. Thank you for choosing this. He kissed her gently. Thank you for making forever actually mean something. They climbed back on the bike as the sun set behind them, turned around and headed west, back the way they came. Back onto Route 66. The road that was dying, yes, but not dead yet. And they had centuries to explore it. Above them, the stars came out one by one. Below them, the asphalt stretched into the darkness. Behind them, the past fell away. Ahead of them, infinity waited. And somewhere on that endless highway, a vampire and his immortal love rode into the night, free and together, and home. The end, and the beginning.